Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV and Radio, and for everybody watching on our various channels and E360, we are happy to have you here. If this is the very first time that you join us, my name is Mariska du Preez, and you are joining us on Talking Heads. So as you can see, there is my website on the screen. I work with leaders, both new and up and coming and moving into different leadership spaces. And you can get me via my website or alternatively also via LinkedIn to connect with me as and where it is that you might need some more humanness in your leadership space. And speaking of leadership, that is what we are going to be covering today in our topic. And I recently came across an article from Gallup. So Gallup does a wonderful survey each and every year where they have a look at the state of the work environment for us globally. So they do a global survey and it came out recently, and I thought, well, I will share some of what they found in the one that they did in 2025 coming out for 2026, and how things might be looking for people around you in your work environment and other leaders most probably as well in your environment, and what we might be able to focus on or look at during this year to help improve the situation that we are in at the moment, to bring a little bit more humanness into our workspace. So with that being said, one of the things that they found in the report is that employees in general, a very high percentage of them report that they feel more either stress, anger, or sadness in the previous day, which always is the day after the day that we are in, right? So we don't evaluate the day we are in yet until it's the end of it. So they report more of that than pre-pandemic figures. So what we are seeing is that before the pandemic, people didn't report such high percentages, whereas now they are reporting higher percentages. It has been dropping a little bit, but it hasn't really gone down to what it used to be. So that's one of the things that they've reiterated for this time around. And what they also noted is that wellness, so if you think about wellness in your work environment, which is very important for us as leaders, now, wellness for an employee increases, and they're seeing an increase in wellness when the employee sees intrinsic, so what we feel is rewarding work that we are doing, as well as seeing how it is good for those around us. So seeing the impact that we make with other people we serve, other teams, that helps us to feel more well-being and feel that we are actually contributing. Of course, and it needs to be aligned with what it is that we want to feel for ourselves. Is it aligned with us as a human being? So if we have those two things, typically employees feel a lot more well in their work environment. And then what I found really, really interesting is that they found that leaders has a higher life experience evaluation. So in general, life experience for them feels like it's a good experience. And they also have a lot more worst days. So if they look at individual contributors versus leaders and managers, they see that the very, very bad days are a lot more for leaders and managers versus our individual contributors. And something that might contribute to this is when you think about leadership in general, we have a tendency, because we are in more rooms in the know, more rooms where decisions are being made, depending on, of course, what level of leadership you are in, there might be a greater sense that we have a voice. So that's one thing that contributes to our overall feeling of higher evaluation in life. We also have not necessarily total, but a lot more agency when we are within a leadership role than we might have when we are in an individual contributor role. Now, this is not true in all places, but that might be a contributing factor. And then depending on how we evaluate it for ourselves, status might also play into that. So that's things that helps us to feel and evaluate our life space as a leader as better. Now, this may or may not apply to you, or in varying degrees when you think about evaluating it for yourself. This is, of course, what the report found. And then the downside to this, and this is where I want to focus more of our time today, is that we have greater social distance. So when you think about yourself as a leader, there might be less people that you can actually talk to about certain things or certain decisions. Part of it might be because it's confidential. It might not leave the room where you are having the discussion. We might not agree with everybody around the table. So when we are within that leadership space, we might feel isolated ourselves in that everybody around the table might not understand our point of view or what we are seeing. Or we might feel that it is a very heavy decision that we need to make. And that's the other portion of this, is we have the responsibility, because we are in that leadership space, where we will make painful or difficult decisions and choices. And sometimes, and here I'm thinking about ethics a lot these days, and it might be that it is one of those things where I need to ethically evaluate the thing that I am deciding, because it's going to have a huge impact on a lot of other people in my environment. And as a leader, those are very, very difficult decisions to make. So when we are in that space of leadership, and yes, we have the good things that it brings to us, makes us feel good in whatever shape or form it might be. We might like serving other people. It might be that we really enjoy seeing them grow and getting better at things. And we also have the flip side of that, and that's those worst days where we need to look at the entire business as a whole, right? How do we actually get this whole thing to function in a way where it is more beneficial for more people than just for a few? Now, some businesses work on that principle, and some businesses don't. They just look at the few, and they don't really care about the rest. So if we are an ethical leader and we really are with the salt of the earth in what we do and how we approach things, we will think about all these different elements of it. And ethics is one of those things where there isn't a clear right or wrong answer necessarily. It is in the grays. So understanding what the impacts are, how it will work, how it might play out, how it might be perceived, because some of it is actual fact and some of it is perception on what the things are that we might need to make decisions on. And as a leader, we, because we have the social distance, might feel like we need to do this thing alone. So what can we do in those instances to help us and resource ourselves as leaders? Because we are still human, right? We still need to be supported in some way, shape, or form. We still have emotion that we need to work through. We still have a thinking process that we need to work through. So understanding what that might be for us and how that might work for us and how we want to make sense of what is happening potentially. So first off, a couple of ideas or tips within this space would be understanding what type of support it is that I need as a leader. So typically one of the things that I would mention with my clients, especially leaders in some of the higher positions, is understanding who we have as our support team. Now, when you think about a support team, it's really some of the perspectives that maybe I don't take by myself. So I want people that might be able to challenge my thinking on the thing so that I make sure that I can get a broader perspective on things. And as a leader, I also need to be able to be strong enough to have those conversations where it might not agree with the way that I think and feel about things. So having somebody like that on my team, then I also need to have people on my team that can help me see in different places and spaces where maybe I do not have a level of expertise, or I might have some blind spots. So depending on the environment in which you are operating, it might be that you have a very wide, diverse workforce. And because of your very wide, diverse workforce, it is that the point that you have, the viewpoint that you have, is only one of quite a large amount of different viewpoints. So understanding what some of those others might be can be helpful. So I would like to have somebody like that on my team. I would also like to have maybe specializations on my team. So what other areas might I need to consider? Now, typically in work environments, especially as we go up within the work environment, we have teams that has those sort of functions. And we don't necessarily need to only use those people on those teams for our own team. As a leader, we need to establish our own team that helps us and become advisors and people that can help guide us. Because remember, we are the leader. So we're going to make the choice, and whatever that is going to be on our shoulders. And the better informed we can be within that space, and the more perspectives we can potentially take into account, and more ideas we can grow with, the easier it might be to make a decision where it's not an easy decision. So it's not going to go, oh, wow, I'm just going to fire this amount of people. It won't be an easy decision. It will, however, help us to impact and do it so that it is more generative in nature. So looking at the way I think about it is, if you are a gardener, we can't keep planting and planting and planting and planting and just leave the garden to its own devices, because, well, it will go wild. And a part of that is it will start to have weeds in it, and there will be things in it that isn't helpful for some of the other plants that we actually want to cultivate. So in a business, we want to cultivate certain things. because the business is there to do certain things. If we have a vegetable patch type of business versus a flower garden type of business, they are quite different. So if I have vegetables, I don't necessarily want a whole bunch of wildflowers inside my vegetable patch, and vice versa. So I want to make sure that I have the right type of things in the right areas. The other thing that I also want to make sure of is I need to make sure that the vegetable patch that I have, if I have anything that is more a long-term type of plant, I might need to prune it. Now, pruning doesn't mean I chop it off and I kill it. Pruning is removing some of the dead foliage, some of the branches that might be hindering the plant to thrive, in order for it to bring in more light, bring in more air, whatever it is that the plant needs in order to become a thriving plant. And that's what we want to be doing as leaders. We want to make sure that we are cultivating this business in a way where it makes sense for this is what the business is actually supposed to be doing, and this is the function of the business. And some pruning from time to time might be required, but I don't want to prune the wrong branches. I want to prune the ones that would actually make a beneficial difference. So understanding how that works and having my team helps me to do that. It also, when you recall my previous, this is some of the downsides of leadership, the social distance gets a little bit less when we do have a team, because now I have other people that I can bounce ideas off of, that I can speak to, that helps me to make sense of how it is that we are actually cultivating this garden so that it is appropriate and thriving. And it will be thriving for future generations even. So understanding how to do that in a way where it actually nourishes and not just breaks down. So that's one thing to take into account with that. Then the other part of this, because we have been developed as human beings, as social creatures, right? So we actually work together with the rest of the system. And as a leader, one of the things that we need to continuously remind ourselves of is that our own regulation, the way that we regulate ourselves, whether I'm feeling really stressed or really anxious or really worried about this thing, or I have an idea of what I'm going to do about it, and I can sort of work through that emotion for myself, and I can get into a space where I can still take action and I can still do the thing that I need to do, and it is not crippling me. So being able to regulate myself in that way is really, really fundamentally important for leaders. Because one of the other things that we found in science, especially in the neurosciences, is that not only does that work for our own system, it also works for our wider system. So if you think of each human being in your organization as a node in your brain, right? Each one node speaks to another group of nodes. Now, I'm the leading node because I'm the leader in the organization. So if I'm going to go in a stress response and I find myself dysregulating and I can't work through the emotion and it's not appropriate for whatever the thing is that's happening around me, what happens is the rest of the nodes, i.e. the rest of your organization, gets that same experience, right? So we start to dysregulate everybody else around us. Now, just looking at our world environment at the moment, that is what is happening. We have a whole bunch of dysregulated human beings. And unfortunately, what also happens when we are dysregulated like this is we cannot come up with effective ways to get ourselves out of it. Because as soon as we start to dysregulate, what the nodes are doing is they sort of want to bundle themselves in. So they want to protect themselves, right? If you think fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, what happens? We want to protect ourselves. Now that happens then with the whole network, which means we don't talk to one another anymore. So we are not sending out signals. If you think about your own brain, it is not sending out signals. Your whole system freeze, doesn't want to move. And then we get ourselves into more trouble. And we also don't know how to get ourselves out of it. Now that works with the rest of our bigger system and enlarged too. So if we are able to, as a leader, regulate ourselves better, it helps the rest of the system then to start co-regulating with us, which then means that they can work through whatever emotion they need to work through and have a more appropriate response for whatever needs to happen. And we can start to work together again, which means my system works the way it's supposed to be and things happen what's supposed to happen. So understanding how to do that really well is fundamental for us as leaders. And it helps us with those more difficult decisions because in all likelihood, there will be some not so nice emotions that come up for us, right? As well as for the other people. And when we are making those decisions and we have worked through the feelings, the emotion that comes up, the anxieties for ourselves, and we are able to sit with other people's uncomfort within it, right? Not make it our own and be regulated to help them to regulate, it then becomes a more cohesive whole. So I know that this is all sounding very theoretical at the moment, and you are wondering, well, how do I actually do all of this? So one way that you can potentially go and get yourself a resource that is part of your team is by getting a coach to work with. Because what will happen when you work with a coach? One, you will have a person that's not necessarily inside of your system, that's already regulating themselves to a degree where they can help you to co-regulate and then become a co-regulated pair, and then for you to regulate with the rest of your system. They will also help you to work through some of these other elements that we need to work through for ourselves as human beings. We are not robots, right? We do not press a key on a human being and it executes whatever the function is, and it doesn't feel anything about it or make sense of it or nothing, right? It's just plain, this is the task and it happens. It doesn't work that way with humans. No human on this planet works that way. So when we are working with humans, and yes, we are working with humans all the time, because that's what made us great, right? What makes us really good as a species is this interconnectedness with each other. So we are supposed to work with each other. And doing that well, if we have somebody that we can be in congruence with, it is helpful because we can work through all of those things for ourselves as a leader separately, so that when we step into the environments that we step into, it makes so much more sense for us to bring everybody together and actually have a cohesive approach to it, instead of having a dysregulated approach where you're literally getting everybody scattered all over the place. So that is one approach of going about getting somebody on your team. So one, get a team, right? If you don't have a team yet, get a team. Resource yourself as a leader. Number two, make sure that on your team, you have a coach that can help you with all those visceral experiences that we go through as human beings, to work through that so that we can be the best human we can be when we step into the room with the rest of our team, regardless of the size of your team. Remember, the more we can regulate with them, the better they become at regulating with each other, and it ripples out. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important, especially for leaders, to understand how to do this well. So if you do not have a coach yet, I implore you to please, please, please look into getting one for yourself. And if you don't have your support team that can resource you, please look into getting some people on your team so that you are well supported in whatever it is that you do within your leadership space. And with that, that is the end of our talking heads for today. So if you are a new leader stepping into leadership, or you are stepping up in your leadership space and you want to bring more humanness, because face it, we're not going to make ourselves robots, bring more humanness into your space, please do reach out, and you can do that via my website, where you will find a little enrollment form, and we can get in touch that way. Alternatively, you can also email me. My email is Mariska, Mariska, @journey, JOURNEY, 2, discover, DISCOVER.com. So you can email me there, or you can also find me on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you will see that I am Mariska du Preez. There is a little photo of me on our screen there. And you can get hold of me via just writing a direct message, and we can start our conversation from there. And even if it is not me that you decide to choose as a coach, I do implore you to please, please think about getting some people on your team that can resource you so that you can be the leader you need to be to regulate yourself and help the rest of your team and environment, so that we can be better humans together as a whole. And with that, I will see you in May for my next Talking Heads. Until then, bye-bye for now.
In a quiet seaside town in Greece, where sunlight warms the stone paths and the sea whispers nearby, a new adventure begins. Lady Ella and her brother Lord Jack have arrived with an important mission: to teach kindness, patience, and the power of listening. In a hidden alley, a group of forgotten cats feel unseen and unheard, lost in silence and growing misunderstandings, until someone finally takes the time to truly listen. Because when we listen from the heart, loneliness softens, kindness grows, and new friendships begin. This is Book 10 of The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor book series. Find all Dr. Kerbeck's books on Amazon and in fine bookstores worldwide.
My Tummy Hurts by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Meet Jackie. She loves recess, running with friends, and laughing on the playground. At school, Jackie tries to play like she always does, but suddenly the pain comes back. Lately, something feels different and her tummy hurts, sometimes a little and sometimes a lot. With the help of a caring teacher, a nurse, her mom, and a kind doctor, Jackie begins to understand what her body is trying to tell her. Sometimes tummy pain is more than a simple bellyache. Some children live with conditions like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Jackie listens to her body. She asks for help. She knows she's not alone. And Jackie finds her way back to running, laughing, and being herself. My Tummy Hurts, a kid's guide to bellyaches and bathroom troubles by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, available on Amazon and in fine bookstores around the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.